Rent help is not in the Republican proposal, but will it exist in the final second stimulus package? Hey everybody, this is LALATE with a second stimulus check and stimulus package update, and the sirens and police alarms are going off because rent assistance was not in the Republicans' second stimulus package yesterday, and I was pissed and I felt lied to. Did you feel lied to? I certainly did. Let me go over what is going on. Sunday morning, Steve Mnuchin, Treasury Secretary to the White House, and Larry Kudlow, who holds an economic cabinet seat in the White House as well, appeared on Morning Talk News, one on CBS and CNN and one on Fox. They both said very clearly that the second stimulus package from the Republicans, which would be debuting on Monday, would include rent eviction moratorium and rent relief, mortgage forbearance, and similar provisions. And that, the bill was already done and ready to go. Well, it debuted on Monday, and guess what? It wasn't in there. So did they just flat-ass lie to us? Did they forget what their own bill had in there? Or was this a complete deception of the American public, like we would not catch it? Here is really what's happening. Let me go over the status of this American society as to rent evictions right now, and this is important for you to know where you live. Currently, only 50% of the states in the country have eviction moratoriums in place. The numbers is dropping regularly because those eviction moratoriums are expiring in some states. It was about 20 at the start of this week. That means that if you're in a state that does not have an eviction moratorium, you can be thrown out on the street. It also means if you own your own home and cannot make your mortgage, you can face foreclosure because you couldn't make the mortgage. It also means if you own an apartment building and can't make your bills, you could lose that as well to the bank. All that relief was supposed to be in the Republican second stimulus package. But when it debuted yesterday, the HEALS Act, it wasn't in there. As though we would not forget to look for it. I looked for it. And I looked again and realized it's not in there, nor is hazard pay. But rent eviction moratorium was literally promised to us by the people who had drafted the second stimulus package 24 hours earlier. So why were we lied to, and what happened to it, and what is the potential for it going forward? The Democrats propose for it in their bill, which is the HEROES Act. What's important for you to understand is what's going on with the two bills. Any bill, when introduced to Congress, has to be approved by both the House and the Senate. It doesn't become a law just because you wrote it up, first of all. And it doesn't become a law just because you introduce it to the Senate. It has to be approved by both houses. Currently, the HEROES Act, which gives you these wonderful reliefs, has been approved by the House. It's in the Senate. The HEALS Act hasn't been approved by anyone yet. It's just sitting in the Senate. If the two bills are combined together, then they go back and forth between the House and Senate and have to be approved by both bodies. Ultimately, any bill that's approved can be vetoed by the president. So where are we sitting with this? This is very, very troubling. Now, I'm not partisan, and this channel's not partisan, but I have freely said it all day long, and I'm probably going to say it for the next 10 days. The Republicans' bill is crap. It is literally crap. How can you have a bill that does not have rent eviction moratoriums and mortgage forbearance in it? You can't not have that. You're going to have rampant homelessness across this country in just a few days. How can you not have hazard pay in there? It's absolutely abhorrent. Now, was this a mere oversight, or did something else happen? Nancy Pelosi admits minutes ago that she is meeting with Chuck Schumer and Steve Mnuchin today. She met with him yesterday and are trying to negotiate around the clock to get this done. But is Nancy going to urge and go to the table to ensure that those eviction moratoriums are in there? It's likely yes. Here's why. When I detailed over the last few days rent help, I explained to you that there's not only rent help in the HEROES Act, but there are 5 other Democratic bills that are currently on the House floor that provide rent help as well. So I don't think the House leader is simply going to just roll over and not have rent help. It's crazy. It's literally crazy. So I think that rent assistance is a non-negotiable for the purposes of the Democrats. I really think that's where it's landing at the moment. But then there's the Republicans. What's going on here? Ultimately, Americans are not stupid. President Trump made much of his early income, and his father as well, as a apartment building owner. So as an apartment building owner, 60 days out from a presidential election, are you going to go into it saying, I'm not having eviction moratoriums? People can be evicted because they cannot make their rent during a pandemic and be thrown on the street and become homeless with their family and possibly contract COVID-19. It's political suicide. It's absolutely out of character of this president, ironically, because he generally doesn't do something like that. He does some things, but that he doesn't usually do. So it's wondering, where did this get eliminated from this bill within 24 hours? And why is the president not waking up and saying, we need an eviction moratorium? What's also troubling is that Steve Mnuchin and Larry Kudlow are both have economic backgrounds. And every economist that has been talking about the second stimulus check packages for the last 3 weeks say that you have to have an eviction moratorium and mortgage forbearance. Otherwise, you're over the financial cliff. You have rampant homelessness. Who cares about a stimulus check? You're not going to get the stimulus check to anyone because they're not going to have a home. You're not going to know where they are. They're not going to have any food. They're not going to have any light. They're not going to have electricity. They're going to be on the streets. What's going on? So let me get to where we are. Mitch McConnell has said nothing about this as well. He said one subject and one subject only: liability insurance for the business owners. He says we are not negotiating over liability protection, he told CNBC minutes ago. That is the one that says if you are at a place of work as an essential worker, he does not want to pay you hazard pay, but if you want to sue your landlord, your employer, you cannot, unless they do something intentional, which is like literally coughing in your face. So that is his non-negotiable. Okay, that's your non-negotiable. Well, why isn't eviction protection in the bill, Mitch? Congress faces pressure to get approval fast. 30 people are still receiving some form of unemployment assistance, but it's running out. A federal moratorium on evictions also expired last week. Yes. In a joint statement Tuesday, Pelosi and Schumer said that the catastrophe is looming. And until Senate Republicans get serious, they must answer to every hungry child, every family that cannot make rent. Notice that phrase in there. Every worker being denied their UI for their delays. Democrats remain ready to work with Republicans on real solutions to bring immediate relief and save lives and livelihoods. Livelihoods, of course, refers again to your the ceiling over your head, your home. So we have 2 times in a 2-sentence quote from Nancy that rent help is a non-negotiable. So will they go to the mat? And what will happen? Well, here we go. We literally have no statement from the Republicans today explaining why rent eviction moratoriums and mortgage forbearance was not included in the HEALS Act. We have no explanation for it. We have no explanation why they would not approve the provisions in the HEROES Act. And yet, over the last 2 weeks, they've talked about other things of the HEROES Act that they don't like. They don't like $600 a week of FPUC. They don't like X, Y, Z. But when it comes to rent, they don't talk about it. They say, we do think we need to have it, and then they don't include it. Is it because the guy from Kentucky can't type and his printer ran out of ink when he got to that page? Is it because the person who's writing this in calligraphy forgot to, get enough parchment paper? What's going on here? What I need you to understand is the following, and this is bad news, and I'm going to certainly give you the bad news. The bad news is that we have about 9 days for this to be done. And if it's not done in 10 days, what's going to happen? Today is Tuesday. The next Friday, congressmen are all set to go on a wonderful vacation again, while you're set to go wonderfully on the street because they aren't passing rent help. It's absolutely disgusting. And so they're setting themselves up to go on vacation while you're not having any relief as to what you're going to be set up for your home come early August. And without that relief, more millions of people will face or be evicted. The problem is very, very real. And when any economist talks about the second stimulus package, they talk about the financial cliff. And the financial cliff includes rampant homelessness because there was no rent assistance moratorium, eviction moratorium, mortgage forbearance. Without that, nothing of the second stimulus package will work. If you have homelessness across the country, nothing in the second stimulus package will work. So what I want you to do is be informed and be educated about how you're going to make your rent over the next 2 weeks, because I'm worried about what could happen with this bill. There is good news, though, because I need you to understand this timing. It's a little bit strange. I detailed it yesterday. The good news is that if Congress passes a eviction moratorium or mortgage forbearance, let's say on August 9th, and it becomes law that day, literally that day the bank cannot foreclose on you. Literally that day the landlord cannot evict you. So there's one issue about not being able to pay bills, but there's another issue about being thrown out on the street. And so if these two groups get their butts in gear and get this done in the 9 days, the minute, if they get it done on a particular day, the minute it gets done, you're protected, which is great news. You would not be thrown out on the street if you're an apartment renter and you can't make rent. You would not have your home taken for foreclosure by a bank because you cannot pay the mortgage. You would not have your apartment building taken by the bank because you cannot make the mortgage. You would not get financial relief, meaning money or grant money in your pocket that day, but you would not be thrown out on the street. That's the type of urgent help that I really do hope something will happen. And ultimately, what I have to inform you about is if you have the time and you think that it is a responsive representative, contact your senator, contact your representative in the next 9 days and say, listen, you have to get rent eviction moratoriums passed. What's going on here? People are going to get evicted everywhere. The Republicans said they wanted to have it. The Democrats certainly want to have it. Why aren't we having it? We need protections right now. Ultimately, the second stimulus package has a lot of stuff in it, a lot of stuff that shouldn't be in it, and a lot of stuff that isn't in it. And over the next 9 days, I'm going to navigate you through the waters and turns and tables as helicopters try to interrupt me left and right. Stay positive, stay motivated, stay focused, and as always, take a helicopter to my next recording and stay in LA for more.